Welcome to the 16th week of this year's In Times Like These recap. Now, let's get into this. Starting with Owen Grant, who enters Wanda Mitchell's office at Confidence Designs, informing her that her husband wants him to stay away when Devontae's trial starts. Confused, Wanda asks Owen why Udell thinks that way. He states that Udell felt like it would be too much for Wanda to handle with Owen prosecuting Devontae. Wanda assures Owen that staying in her life during the trial won't be a burden to her, which Owen appreciates hearing. He goes on to claim how he hopes that he didn't cause any more issues for her and Udell. Wanda thanks Owen for informing her, assuring him that she and Udell will be fine. Owen appreciates hearing that, telling Wanda that he would stay away as long as she told him. She proceeds to ask Owen not to be a stranger. Quinlan Franklin is on the phone with Pacho Torres, hoping that the jury not having compassion on Devontae. Pacho states that the evidence should speak for itself and that in no time he'll be running Theodosia's palace, which is when Nichelle walks in. Pacho ends the call, then Nichelle asks who he was talking with. He tells her not to worry about it, but Nichelle asks her brother how he expects her not to worry about it when he just told the person on the phone that he's next in line to take over Theodosia's palace. Pacho informs his younger sister that it's true, which Nichelle doesn't take well. She begins to ask Pacho why he has to take over Theodosius' palace to care of the family. He questions if she had any desire to take over the hotel. Nichelle tells her brother how it doesn't matter what she wants. Pacho agrees, telling Nichelle that their father made his wishes clear, expressing how she should be grateful that the hotel is within the family and not in danger of being put on auction where the highest bidder could take it. When Yulisa Torres arrives at the Dorval estate, she desires to speak with JJ Dorval. Her best friend, Vanessa Dorval, tells Yulisa how that might not be a good idea. Right after Vanessa says that, JJ walks in. JJ and Yulisa check up on one another. Then he asks Yulisa if she wants to know if he shot her father. In order to protect JJ, Vanessa tells him that he shouldn't say another word. Once JJ tells his sister that Yulisa deserves the truth, Vanessa tells Yulisa how the truth is that her family didn't intend for Devontae to be shot, but it's just what transpired, just like she told her before. Yulisa reminds Vanessa that she didn't see what happened and didn't tell her who shot Devontae. This is when JJ admits that he did. JJ explains to Yulisa about what transpired, then she goes on to apologize to JJ and Vanessa. He tells Yulisa how she has nothing to apologize for. Concerned, Vanessa asks her younger brother what he's doing. JJ tells that Yulisa should hear their side of the story instead of Devontae's lies. Commissioner Finnegan Burke arrives at the hospital, asking Devontae Torres if he's ready to talk. Devontae tells Finnegan how he doesn't think that he has much to talk about, stating that he was shot and ended up fighting for his life. Finnegan begins to ask Devontae about what led to his shooting. The response that Devontae gives is that he was having a civil conversation with Shelley, then ended up being shot. Finnegan asks Devontae why he was at the Dorval estate. The story which Devontae gives is that he only showed up because Jeremiah asked him to. Devontae states how Jeremiah wasn't at the house, but Shelley was. This causes Finnegan to ask Devontae what he and Shelley spoke about. Devontae claims that they didn't get to speak much. Then the next thing he remembered was getting shot. Once Finnegan asks Devontae if he knows who shot him, Devontae answers that he heard the voice of a teenage boy, then ended up on the floor, asking Finnegan if JJ shot him. Finnegan confirms that it was JJ who shot him. Devontae questions if JJ was arrested. When Finnegan answers that JJ wasn't arrested, Devontae appears frustrated, expressing his desire to press charges against the teen. When Wanda arrives to the Mitchell estate, she asks Udell why Owen told her that he was told to keep his distance from her. Instead of answering his wife's question, Udell asks Wanda if that's what Owen agreed to do. Wanda answers that he didn't, telling her husband that she wouldn't allow it to happen. Udell tells Wanda claims that a friendship with Owen only means putting Yvette at risk. Wanda feels like Udell is being paranoid, but Udell reminds Wanda that Heidi and the Russos would use any chance to make sure Yvette faces charges for lying about Max. Even though Wanda points out that Owen and Heidi can't stand one another, Udell point out that Heidi is aware of their friendship and could use that against Owen. He goes on to state that she doesn't know how Owen will react, knowing that he was trying to get justice for Yvette when she was lying all along. Suddenly, Yvette shows up, explaining to her parents that she overheard their disagreement. Wanda claims that she and Udell have everything under control. Finnegan arrives at the Dorval estate, informing Jeremiah and Shelley how he interviewed Devante, but his version of events doesn't align. Jeremiah and Shelley go on to ask Finnegan what the next step should be. Finnegan tells the couple how they need to call Udell as soon as possible, since Devante wants to press charges against JJ. Angered, Jeremiah and Shelley state how they had every right to shoot Devante since he was a danger. Unfortunately, Finnegan points out that it's Shelley's words against Devante's, since she, JJ, and Devante were the only ones around. Once Finnegan leaves, Shelley points how frustrated she is that once she thought Devante would pay for the damage, he would try to create more mess. Jeremiah tries to assure his wife that Devante won't be victorious. Whether Devante is victorious or not, Shelley worries that JJ will have a setback soon after he got back home. Jeremiah encourages his wife to stay close to God, then prays for their situation. Quinlan enters the living room, finding her younger brother Zeke looking worried. When she asks what sort of trouble Heidi placed him in, Zeke tells his sister that he's thinking about Nichelle. Worried, Quinlan asks Zeke what concerns him about Nichelle. He informs her that Adaku approached Nichelle recently. He also goes on to state how worried he is about Nichelle digging for answers. This causes Quinlan to ask Zeke if he'll tell Nichelle the truth. Zeke believes that if he tells Nichelle the truth, then it will only make her a target. She states that if she keeps trying to dig for the truth, then she'll be a target anyway. He states how that's why Adaku needs to be taken down quickly before Nichelle figures everything out on her own. Quinlan assures her brother that Devante will go to prison and that Adaku won't be far behind him. Upon hearing this, Zeke expresses that he wishes he could be as hopeful, telling Quinlan that even though Adaku was exposed as a Danjuma, doesn't mean that she can't evade the police. Quinlan points out that Adaku has run the organization without the police looking towards her direction, certain that she won't be able to handle the pressure and slip. Even if Devante and Adaku go down, Zeke feels like that will only push him further away from Nichelle. When Quinlan questions why, Zeke points out that this is another secret that he kept from her. At the hospital, Adaku asks Devante when he'll be checked out of the hospital. Devante tells Adaku that he'll be out soon, asking Adaku not to visit him again, since it would be a bad look for him with the upcoming trial. Adaku tells Devante that it's what he'd get if he exposed her. Frustrated, Devante reminds Adaku that he wasn't the one who exposed her true identity to the world. Because of that, Adaku tells Devante that since he denies any involvement, then he should do his best to help her find out who exposed her. He begins to remind Adaku that he's her business partner and not her lapdog, advising that she get her henchmen to do it. She begins to ask Devante why he's so unwilling to help since he claims to be innocent. Devante answers that he doesn't want to waste his time, telling Adaku that she's being paranoid again. Adaku begins to ask Devante if he blames her, stating that she doesn't know who to trust. When Devante claims that it's probably because Adaku has become too trusting lately, she asks him what he means by that. Devante tells Adaku that if he could guess who would want to expose her, then he would guess Quinlan Franklin. He goes on to inform her that when Quinlan interviewed him, she was curious as to how they were connected, asking Adaku what makes her think that Quinlan didn't do a bit of digging. Finnegan visits Harley in her hotel room, and she asks him if he's certain that he's ready to sign his rights away as a father. He tells Harley that he's not, but is ready to move forward in their relationship. Just as he says those words, Harley tells her lover that she can't let him do this, wondering if they could compromise with Terry. Finnegan is certain that Terry doesn't want to compromise, stating that she only wants to hurt him because he hurt her. Harley suggests that they put an end to their affair, but Finnegan isn't willing to let her go. As the two lovers kiss, Alan barges in and is shocked by what he walked into. Even though Harley attempts to explain, Alan doesn't want to hear it and storms off. At Russo Jewelers, Vivian asks her older half-brother Isidore if he's so opposed to Alan's attacks against the Torres family because of his previous relationship with Isabel. Even though Isidore admits to being in love with Isabel, he claims that Alan going after Devante will cause nothing but trouble. Vivian asks why Isidore would care what sort of trouble would come out of it, since Devante took the life of Isidore's younger sister, Elvira. The answer which Isidore replies with is that they need to separate personal conflicts apart from business. He goes on to admit that Alan is ambitious, but tells Vivian that Alan is too ambitious for his own good. When he expresses that he fears Alan would run the hotel to the ground, Vivian smirks, feeling like her plan to tear the family apart is falling into place. Nichelle and Pacho welcome Devante back home. Then when Pacho leaves the room, Nichelle asks her father if Pacho is truly the next in line to take over the hotel. Devante admits it, telling his daughter that Pacho came back and made up for lost time. Nichelle tells her father that Pacho is just playing him. Upon hearing this, Devante asks Nichelle where this is coming from. Nichelle asks her father if he thinks that it's just too convenient that Pacho came back when he faced charges. Devante feels like it was convenient, pointing out that when Pacho arrived back in town, he questioned if Devante was guilty, until the two of them had a conversation and Pacho believed in his innocence. Nichelle wonders if her father is sure of that, asking him why he's not considering the fact that Pacho came back to take advantage of the situation, hoping that Devante would get convicted so that Pacho would be in charge of their fortune. Pacho arrives, asking Nichelle if she's still going on about her conspiracy theories. Nichelle is certain that it's not a conspiracy theory, telling her brother that she won't let him take their father for a fool. Devante assures his daughter that no one will take him for a fool. Devante excuses himself. Then Pacho tells Nichelle how he hopes that she stops trying to make him public enemy number one. Nichelle tells Pacho that if he gives up his claim to the hotel, then she might. Devante makes a call to someone, requesting to meet, revealing that it's Jeremiah. Adaku meets with Quinlan, telling her that she has a special task for her to accomplish. As soon as Quinlan asks her boss what the task is, Adaku reveals that she wants Quinlan to figure out who exposed her true identity. Since Quinlan is behind the leak, she tries to give her boss different excuses as to why she can't help. This causes Adaku to ask the reporter why Quinlan is unwilling to help. Quinlan claims that she is willing, but doesn't feel like she can help like Adaku believes she can. When Adaku expresses that she believes in Quinlan, this is when Quinlan feels stuck. Owen shows up to Udell's office, asking why he was called to his office. Udell answers that he didn't want Heidi to be in their business, but also wants to know why Owen didn't respect his wishes. Owen states that he needed to ask Wanda herself if she would rather he stay away, since they're friends, questioning if Udell is jealous of their friendship. Since Udell and Wanda grew up together, Udell states that he's not jealous whatsoever. Even though Udell states that he's not jealous, Owen points out how it seems like Udell feels threatened by something since he keeps contacting him to keep his distance. He proceeds to ask Udell what he's so afraid of. Udell tells Owen that he's not afraid of anything. Owen asks Udell if he's sure of that, pointing out that when Udell couldn't find it in his heart to forgive Wanda, his own wife, Wanda turned to him for comfort. He goes on to tell Udell that his actions is what made him and Wanda such great friends. Angered, Udell tells Owen to get out of his office. Shelley approaches Jeremiah, asking her husband what's wrong. Jeremiah informs her that Devante called him, offering to drop the charges against JJ as long as they don't press any charges against him and that he stay away from the trial. Confused, Jeremiah tells his wife that he didn't think Shelley would make that suggestion after everything that happened. Shelley admits that after thinking and praying, that she was too hard on Jeremiah for what they endured when Devante is the one at fault, apologizing for blaming Jeremiah. He admits to his wife that he could have handled everything better. Shelley tells Jeremiah that this is his chance to do better, telling her husband that she supports him 100%. Devante gets a call from Jeremiah, expressing how glad he is that he called soon. Jeremiah tells Devante that he won't be intimidated, telling Devante that he deserves everything he gets. At the Russo estate, Essador meets with an irritated Alan, informing him that Terry revealed that Pacho is the next in line to take over Theodosius's palace. Upon hearing this, Alan feels like the simple resolution is to buy out Theodosius's palace from Pacho. Essador tells Alan that if Devante goes to prison and when Pacho takes over, the guests might start pouring in, telling his son that they need to give up the plan. When Alan reminds his father that he needs to make up for his lost inheritance, Essador tells his son not to make any more plots behind his back. Then Alan asks his father if he's gonna slap him again. Suddenly, Isabel walks in, asking if everything is okay. Annoyed, Alan tells Isabel that it's none of her concern, telling her that it's family business. When he walks off, Essador apologizes. Isabel tells Essador that she's not bothered, filling him in on the fact that Pacho will take over Theodosius' palace, and with Devante's trial coming up, she'll be going back home. Essador doesn't let her in on the fact that he already knew, congratulating her. He also hopes that she doesn't become a stranger, expressing how he still wants to rebuild what's been broken. When Isabel states that it's too soon, Essador kisses Isabel, telling her that he'll wait until she's ready. Quinlan calls Pacho, informing how Adaku is asking her to find out who leaked her true identity to the world. She adds that Adaku wouldn't give her a choice, and that rejecting Adaku's request would have been too risky. Quinlan explains that she fears that Adaku is questioning everyone, when her hope was that Adaku would only be suspicious of Devante. Since they're the ones who were behind the leak, Pacho suggests that Quinlan try to trick Adaku in some way. Quinlan questions if Adaku would be easily tricked. She goes on to ask Pacho if he can make the tough decision to tell Devante what he knows about Adaku and to get Devante to admit to taking Elvira's life and make a deal by snitching on Adaku. Can't get enough of the crazy world of In Times Like These? Then treat yourself to a binge watch of In Times Like These. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. You're not ready for what's to come, but tune in anyway.